The new Twitter killer from Mark Zuckerberg. It's called Threads, folks. Threads. And basically, what Threads is, it's going to leverage Instagram accounts. So if you have an Instagram, it's going to jumpstart the platform here. Threads is going to be jumpstarted by Instagram. So basically, what happens is there's one button on it, Instagram that allows you to follow anyone on Threads that you're currently following on Instagram. So it's connected with your Instagram. This new Threads, I'm calling it the Twitter killer. Mark Zuckerberg, he's behind it. Now, the amount of personal information that Facebook will collect off users is extreme. Okay. When you use Facebook, they use all kinds of algorithms to pull your data. It gets deep into the weeds, but they have everything on you. If you have a Facebook account, they know everything about you. Okay. It's the app's privacy description on the Apple Store that's really concerning here. The new app, it's called Threads, and it just provides this laundry list of personal data it may collect on users. And I think it's more than what Facebook actually collects. So here's Threads. This is the laundry list. So they're going to look at things like your health and fitness, financial information, context, browsing history, purchases, location, and other sensitive information. This is what is on the Apple App Store if you were to download the app Threads. Oh, and get this new app, the Twitter killer, as I'm calling it. Uh, Threads doesn't let you delete your account. So, okay, say you don't like Threads anymore. You go to delete it and you also delete your Instagram account, and there's no true way to get rid of your account. The regime, big tech, left wing media personalities, they are going to push this new social media app very hard. It's called Threads because it's an alternative to Twitter, and they can't handle this. The regime is so desperate to get the social media companies back on their side, and they have a better chance at getting the social media company on their side when it's not Elon Musk, right? Because Elon Musk bought Twitter. So the social media companies, they're not on, not all of them are on their side anymore. So they need a regime social media. And I think that's going to wind up being Threads. Just be sure before you download this social media app, be sure to read the fine print. I'm going to be talking a lot about this because first, this hour on the Morning Buzz, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk's Twitter and how they have reportedly threatened to sue Meta over its new Threads app, claiming that the social media rival used Twitter trade secrets to create the app. How did they do that? Well, we'll talk about it here coming up on the Morning Buzz with Kat Peterson. Next, the CDC has published on its website guidance for people who identify as trans and non binary and how to chest feed infants. Yes, I said chest feed because there no longer is such a word for breastfeed. You can't say breastfeed, you have to say chest feed. And the CDC has published on their official website instructions for people who take hormones, men who take hormones to try to produce milk and lactate. Yes, that happens. I'm going to tell you how here coming up in just a little bit. And for women who have their breasts removed, what they can do to breastfeed. I know, bizarro world we're living in here. The CDC has come out and published guidance on their website. Later, the White House gets oddly specific with this new cocaine gate. That's what we're calling it here on the Morning Buzz. Cocaine gate. Whose cocaine is it? Where was Hunter? Whose cocaine is it? We found it at the White House. I just want to know whose it is. Now, this is really weird. There's this report. I think it was done by MSNBC. I can't even say this without smiling and laughing through this. They get really specific about, and they imply this implicates the vice president. Is it Kamala's Coke? We'll find out here on the Morning Buzz. As always, you can be sure to like, love, comment, share this video out with your friends. I am on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. Don't give your money to big tech companies, and don't give your business to big tech companies. Go to Rumble. It's a free platform. Dan Bongino, whom you can hear here at 11 o'clock today. He is one of the larger shareholders for the company. This is the Morning Buzz. All right, let's get into it, folks. Elon Musk, Twitter, they are reportedly threatening to sue Meta now over this Threads app. So, in a letter on Wednesday, the Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg had received this letter from a lawyer over at Twitter, and it said that the company, quote, has serious concerns that Meta Platforms has engaged in systemic, willful, and unlawful misappropriation of Twitter's trade secrets and other intellectual property. Well, how'd that happen? Well, the letter goes on. It says that Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, he's the CEO. Meta is Facebook and Instagram and a couple of other things. But Meta has hired dozens of former Twitter employees. Now, we remember a day in the life of a Twitter employee. Elon Musk got in there, he bought Twitter, and he got rid of all of the adult babies that Twitter previously had been babysitting, adult sitting. Right, the yoga sipping, the matcha latte, sip or the latte sipping, the yoga mat, uh, Twitter employees, he got rid of them all, and they all went over to Meta this past year. So Twitter knows that these employees previously worked at Twitter and that these employees had and continued to have access to Twitter's secrets and other highly confidential information that these employees owe ongoing obligations to Twitter. So I don't know if they kind of signed, I'm sure every Twitter employee signs, hey, if I have access to this kind of confidential information of how we run things here at Twitter, I can't go to another company and uh share that information with that company. Right. So and there were many employees that have improperly retained Twitter documents and electronic devices. So these employees obviously very disgruntled when they left because Elon said, "No, I'm not going to keep you hired. What do you even do here? What do you do here, Patricia? Like, are you just run around and sip on lattes all day and do yoga? Like, sorry, you're not going to stay here." So what that led to was a lot of disgruntled employees, and on their way out, they improperly retained Twitter documents and electronic devices that, I mean, could be used against them if they were to leverage this at some other company. And Meta has just released Threads, and I explained what Threads is. It's going to leverage Instagram, and the platform's going to jumpstart because what happens is when you download Threads, create account, you can follow people, anyone you have on Instagram. You can just one press of a button. You can follow all of those people on Threads. So they're trying to jumpstart this platform by tying it with Instagram. The regime, big tech, I cannot say this enough. Big tech, left wing media personalities, they are going to try to push Threads very hard as an alternative Twitter because they are desperate to get social media companies back on their side after Elon Musk had bought Twitter. Also, get this, it appears that, once you download the app, you can't delete it. So you can delete it. You can't delete your account. So if you make an account on Threads, you can deactivate your Threads profile at any time, but you cannot get rid of your Threads profile at any time. So while deactivating Threads doesn't mean that users won't be able to see the user's content, all the content from the deactivated profile will still reside in the app servers, according to a report. So you can have this account deactivated, but that doesn't mean that Threads doesn't still have information on you and isn't actively collecting data. So whatever you're browsing on Google and you've deactivated your Threads account, the Threads company still has all of that data that they're pulling from your browsing history on Google. So uh, this is creepy. It's creepy that you can't delete your account. And once you deactivate your account, the information about you, the data about you, is still being collected by the app's servers. Posts will only be deleted from the app's servers. So, posts specifically, not your data, will only be deleted from the servers if the user individually deletes each thread post. So, if you make a bunch of posts on threads, then uh, you have to go in and physically delete those, and in order for that content to no longer exist on the app servers. However, it's the posts. Notice how the App Store it doesn't say data. They're still collecting your data. Furthermore, threads won't allow a user to change their username unless you do so on Instagram as well. The report noted that it might be okay if a user applies the same tone across all platforms. So there was a report done and they said, hey, if you want to use threads, it's probably best that you use the same tone on your threads account and Instagram account because Instagram powers threads. So you have to like basically whatever you're willing to post on threads, you have to be willing to post on Instagram. That's what the company said. The head of Instagram, he wrote this in a threads post. He says, quote, I've been getting some questions about deleting your account. To clarify, you can deactivate your threads account, which hides your threads profile and content, and you can set your profile to be private so nobody can really look you up. And you can delete all of your individual thread posts without deleting your Instagram account. Threads is powered by Instagram, so right now it's just one account, but we're looking into a way to be able to delete your Threads account separately. So, yeah, I mean, look into this, folks. The amount of info that they are collecting, there is a laundry list of personal data that they're going to be collecting on users. Do your homework, read the fine print. 309-451-9299. Hey, if you're watching on the live stream, be sure to smash the like button. I'm gonna be back. I can't believe I it was just the one story. I've got so much to get to today. The CDC website, get this. They're instructing people, they've provided step-by-step instructions for men and how they can chest feed. Yes, that's what the CDC is working on right now. And women who lop their breasts off and think they're men. They provide step-by-step instructions for her and how she can chest feed without her breasts anymore. So, yeah, that's next here on the Morning Buzz. I've got all kinds of things this morning. It's a Friday morning. Good morning. I'll be on the live stream with exclusive content. You're going to want to go to YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Twitter. We're everywhere. Hey, good morning. We're sitting here having a cup of coffee. How do you take your coffee? Throw it into the comments here. If you're watching on the live stream, go ahead, throw it into the comments. How do you take your coffee? So I found this out recently. A blonde roast has more caffeine than a dark roast. Did not know that. I thought that it was the other way around. So always bought I've been drinking coffee since I've been like 8 years old. I used to sit at the breakfast counter with my dad. We'd drink coffee together. I was like 8. But this is a dark roast, and I've been buying dark roast since I've been a little girl, right? So since I've been small, I've been buying dark roast because I thought there was more caffeine in it. Turns out the blonde roasts have more caffeine in it. So that's kind of interesting. Threads already has censored conservatives and anyone they disagree with. Yes. So this is going to be the regime media. Oh, cat, social media isn't on anyone's side. You're just pushing a narrative to rile up your listeners, thus keep crying. Okay, I'm not saying didn't say that social media companies are on your side. Twitter is definitely not on your side. Elon is in the business of making money, and he collects your data as much as anybody else. However, this new app definitely goes to extreme lengths. I mean, it goes to the lengths that they don't want you to delete your account. So what they're trying to do here, being that I have some background in this, okay, what they're trying to do with the whole part of not being able to delete your account, Threads, what they're trying to do is they want you to get sucked into Threads. They know that it's probably going to be an echo chamber. So Twitter is still kind of, leftists and people on the right use Twitter. It's a place where both people tend to reside. Truth Social is right leaning. You can't go there and find leftists on the platform. Now, Twitter used to be extremely left leaning, and leftists love Twitter before Elon Musk, right? But now they want their own Twitter, but they're trying to avoid it being an echo chamber. Everybody uses Instagram, left, people on the left, people on the right. So what they're trying to do with Threads here is they're trying to connect Threads to Instagram to get the same people who use Instagram to use Threads. And once you have Threads, you can't delete it without deleting your Instagram account. So it's almost like they are trying to avoid this Threads from being an echo chamber, and they're tying it to a more um, profound, more established social media platform, Instagram, so they can avoid Threads becoming an echo chamber for the left. They want people on the right to use it as well. However, they're going to censor people. They just want to recreate Twitter the way it was before Elon Musk took over. They want to be able to censor conservatives on that platform. But they still want conservatives on there. They still want majority of people on there. They just want to be able to get you into a place where they can push propaganda out and censor conservatives and censor dissent from the government. So they want a regime social media platform with stamped, approved messages from the government. Okay, so recently, and I don't know if you all know this, but the White House is an approved independent fact checker, according to I think it was Google or something like that. And like Google had goes through and they put independent fact checkers out there or something, and um, they add people as independent fact checkers. Guys, the White House is not an independent fact checker. You don't think that Joe Biden has an interest in censoring stories or putting uh, caveats to stories that involve him and his coke riddled son. Okay, so like, you know what I mean? It's like if they're not independent fact checkers, he's not going to. The White House is not the independent fact checker. If there's been bad information on them, they're not going to be independent or they're not going to be unbiased about that information. They're going to try to, throw all of these fact checks on messages that um, are negative towards them to try to get people to come back to their side and to try to propagandize people into believing that they're actually good and they're doing good things for you, the American. Um, they're not independent by any means. They have a motive. They have, an interest in certain information over other information. You should get some Black Cat coffee, by Intelligentsia? I don't know if I'm saying that. I've been ordering it for several years. You would love it. Yeah, like I said, I've been ordering dark roast and somebody told me, "Oh, actually dark roast does not have," and I looked it up. Dark roast does not have more caffeine. I was using coffee or dark roast coffee for a long time because I thought it has more caffeine, but apparently like a lighter blonde roast has more caffeine, which I thought was kind of crazy. But we're going to be back. We're going to talk about the CDC putting out step by step instructions for men to lactate and to breastfeed. Although I can't say that anymore. Breastfeed is not approved, is not regime approved speak. I have to use the new speak, which is chest feed. We have to talk about chest feeding individuals now. So the CDC puts it out on their website how to chest feed appropriately. I don't know if there's an appropriate way to chest feed other than a biological woman, somebody, an adult female going through changes through pregnancy that allow her to naturally produce milk. Go ahead, like the show. I know if you're watching, please smash that like button. It really helps us out. Subscribe to the channel and share this video out with your friends. Okay, friends, you will not believe this. Kamala Harris is she the culprit behind Cocaine Gate here? Now we know that Joe Biden's he's not on coke, okay? He is totally into little girls. He's not snorting lines of coke. He's just sniffing little girls, okay? We know that it's not Joe Biden's coke. But there's this really weird story out there, and MSNBC is behind it, and it gets very specific, like oddly specific with this new cocaine gate report. That's what I'm calling it here on the Morning Buzz. Kat Peterson, and it implicates Kamala Harris. It like suggests, like they specifically suggest that Kamala Harris could be a culprit here in this cocaine gate. It could be her coke, right? So I don't know. This is a strange thing that is out there, and I don't know. I feel like I'm in an episode of like some sort of weird teen drama, or I mean, we've got people on the White House front lawn taking off their clothes, showing their boobs to everybody, and then we've got cocaine in the White House. This is a weird, like, movie. I feel like I'm in a movie. I feel like this can't be happening. This isn't real. This isn't the White House in the United States. That's not the president of the United States. That's not the vice president of the United States. That's definitely not the United President States president's son. There's no way that this is happening, but it is, folks. So we're going to try to sift through this. There's a new report out there that gets really specific and implicates Vice President Kamala Harris. So that'll be interesting. The CDC, they have published on their website guidance for people who identify as trans and non binary and how they can get this chest feed infants. Yes, I said chest feed because breastfeeding, I guess, is not appropriate is no longer an appropriate term. You can't say breastfeed anymore because it's so mean. So here we go. Let's get into the story. The CDC website has now put information out there for individuals who are trans identifying, non binary identifying on how to feed children for biological women who lop their breasts off as part of gender reassignment surgeries, and for biological men taking hormones in order to grow breasts. So, way back when, and I'm sorry I have to do this. I promised I wouldn't drag this guy out. But I've got to do it. He goes by the name Naomi. He's a TikToker and has really just taken off this video of him chest feeding or breastfeeding uh, a newborn baby, and he says that he's going to be a mom soon. It's on TikTok, and it blew up. And I shared with you this guy who actually is claiming that he is a mother and he is breastfeeding this child, and he's doing it through this regimen of hormones. He's actually producing something. I don't know what it is. It's like a pus or something. I don't even know. The, the mental gymnastics I would have to perform here on the Morning Buzz to try to understand what's happening with this individual. Uh, I'm just not capable. It's really early in the morning, folks. 6:29 a.m. Let's listen to this guy. He's a transgender individual, and he claims that he has lactated before using a hormone regimen that I'll explain here in just a little bit. Here we go.
Cow achievement. Trans women can indeed lactate. You would follow the Newman-Goldfarb protocol, a medical protocol designed to help women induce lactation if they were not like getting pregnant themselves. I'm gonna be a mother. That's in the works, in the process, and part of that process is that I am working to induce lactation to be able to breastfeed our youngest child. Yeah, actually mommy Naomi. I've actually already successfully induced lactation. Like I can actually make milk now, which has been a very interesting and very cool experience. It's like very biologically affirming too, which is something that's like gate kept from trans women, like so difficult. Both motherly and
Wow. That's insane. Notice how he says it's just so biologically affirming. You don't even mention the health of the baby. You don't mention, I mean, when you talk to mothers, like legitimate mothers, women, adult females who go through this process of breastfeeding a child. They just talk about the nutrition, they talk about the intimacy that they share with that child. This person, this whatever, he, she, z, them, I don't know. Uh, this person just talks about how biologically affirming it is for him. These people are selfish scumbags. So the CDC on their website now, it's under a section, you can go look it up. It's the Infant and Young Child Feeding Toolkit, and it's under something called Health Equity Considerations. And it stated that transgender and non binary in gendered individuals may give birth and breastfeed or feed at the chest feed. So then throughout this website, they referred to breastfeeding as chest feeding. The agency added here on their website that the gender identity or expression of transgender individuals is different from their sex at birth, noting that gender identity of non-binary gendered individuals does not fit neatly into either a man or a woman. So what else are they? A dog, a cat? I can't. So under this website section, under it says breastfeeding. They talk about breastfeeding for those who have undergone surgeries, so-called gender affirming surgeries. And the agency uses that term chest feeding. So can transgender parents, this is the question on the website, can transgender parents who have had breast surgery uh, breastfeed or chest feed their infants? And the response on the website is yes. So if you've lopped your breasts off, you can chest feed. And it goes into this explanation. It says some transgender parents who have had breast or top surgery may wish to breast or chest feed. A term in which, so they talk about the term chest feed, a term used by some transgender and non binary parents. Um, so if you lop off your breasts, you may wish to breastfeed later your infants. We have no idea what the long-term effects of this is, folks, and how do they do it? So you lop off your breasts and you want to breastfeed, or you're a man and you want to breastfeed. Um, there's something called off-label hormones. We don't know the long-term effects of on a child. This is all about the child and the nutrition that that child is getting. I don't care about affirming your biology. I don't care for about affirming your. I'm not buying tickets to your circus, dude. What I care deeply about is that child and the nutrition of that child and the long-term effects of shoveling this pus or whatever, this medication, this lactation that you're producing into this baby's mouth. So they're using all kinds of what I call off label hormones. What is off label? What does that mean, Kat? Well, an off label is a drug that is being used for a different purpose than what it is approved for. The report noted that there are some medications necessary to induce lactation in trans women that have not been approved for boosting milk production in the United States. So they're using hormones that have not been approved for this purpose of inducing lactation. And the CDC is very clear about that. And they say that there is a way to do this, but it's not approved in the United States. I thought the CDC was in the business of, oh, I don't know, helping people, keeping people healthy. Of course not. We know that now from the pandemic. But in 2004, get this, there was an advisory statement, and they said this quote: in response to reports that women may be using an unapproved drug, it's called domperidone, to increase milk production, lactation, the FDA is warning breastfeeding women to not use this product because of safety concerns. So we have the FDA on record saying that this domperidone is not healthy, or there's safety concerns for women who are breastfeeding. So in that clip there that I played for you of this guy, his name's Naomi. I don't know his real name. He goes by Naomi on TikTok, and he is allegedly breastfeeding a child. Um, Daily Mail They talk about what's called a Newman Goldfarb protocol. Now, this is a cocktail of drugs that allows you to lactate. The long term health implications of such a treatment is not known, neither for adults nor babies. So we don't know. We don't know what's going on here. It's very hard for me to believe that breast milk, which naturally occurs in biological females and females, is the same type of breast milk created by hormone medication in a biological man. I would love to see the chemistry breakdown of that, and I'd love to see the differences side by side because I'm sorry, it's very hard for me to believe at this point that this is uh, the same thing. And if it's not the same thing that is coming from a biological female and that happens naturally, then I question, is it good for the child? We know that breast milk that occurs naturally in females is good for the child. You might have breastfed your own children if you're a woman listening. You might have, or man, right? You might have gone through breastfeeding. Parents who breastfed their child. How'd your kid turn out? Is he healthy? Is she healthy? I don't know. This is mentally deranged people. I and the CDC is affirming it by putting it on their website. like, um, when people ask the question, "I'm transgender, can I breastfeed?" The CDC's response should be no. but on the website, they say yes, and then they say use a bunch of drugs that aren't approved in the United States to do it. What? If you're watching right now, go ahead, smash that like button. Smash that like button. Let me know that you understand that this is absolute insanity. If you smash the like button, then you and I are both going to understand that this is, it's going to affirm me because I feel like I'm living in some sort of alternate reality. And I hope that you guys are seeing this for what it is. And it's so clear by that guy, that I played for you earlier in that TikTok. He talks about he doesn't mention the baby. He just says, "I'm gonna be a mother. It's all about me, 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 me." And these people are very selfish. Of course. I mean, it only makes sense if they're selfish and just completely idolizing themselves because they're constantly questioning themselves, right? If you're constantly thinking about yourself and who you are and how you identify and what's between your legs, you're constantly going to have selfish thoughts and you're going to be consumed by those selfish thoughts so much to the point that you're willing to stick chemicals, I'm sure. I don't know. I'd have to be. I'm not a chemist. I'm not willing to perform any kind of study. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I'm not willing to be put myself out there and perform a study like this. I'm sure there are going to be studies, but I'd love to see the chemistry breakdown of what the man who's taking this cocktail of hormones, what he's producing in lactation in comparison to a natural female breastfeeding a child, like what her breast milk looks like. I'd love to compare the two. Ugh, just this is such an upside down world. Like watching an episode of Seinfeld where everything is backwards. Everything is backwards. So Kamala Harris, we're going to be getting to her here in just a little bit. Apparently, I don't know, this could be her cocaine. So MSNBC, they have a very specific report, like it's an oddly specific report about how they found the cocaine in this situation room, and right next to the situation room is where the vice president uh, parks her car. So they implicate her in this report. I don't know if they meant to do it. But yeah, I feel like I'm in a weird episode of like some sort of drama or like I don't know, like TMZ Miami Beach thing where there's people doing coke. You've seen those movies where there's people doing coke, people taking their shirts off. I feel like I'm in a movie and that this isn't like the actual White House. I feel like we're all being punked. So we've got that. Also, Joy Reid. She's afraid of guns. That's nothing new, but she said that she stayed inside during Independence Day, 4th of July, because she gets triggered by fireworks. That's funny. So Joy Reid, she stayed indoors because she's afraid of people with guns. I went to Wells Firearms. Great place in Lincoln, Illinois, and shot some bows. That was a lot of fun. Then we went out to the Sportsman Club there in Lincoln, and we shot some guns. It was a great Independence Day. Is it even 4th of July if you don't shoot guns? Every 4th of July, I try to make it a point to get out to a range somewhere. I used to when I was a little girl, we would go to a buddy's house and we'd shoot guns, at his dad's house because he had, like, a backyard range, which was really cool. He lived in the middle of nowhere, and, I will never forget when we were shooting clays and we were putting the clays in the machine and I shot my first clay. It was moving, folks. That was a big deal. I shot it and I bink, and I kept the clay. So I ran and I grabbed the clay and I was like, "Ah, yeah," and I kept the clay. It broke inside my car. I kept it inside my car because I was very proud of this thing. I mean, I was shooting for a long time. Um, and I could not hit the clay to save my life, but eventually I got it. So I kept the clay in my car. Eventually, I had to throw it away because it broke, but I got it like dead center too. It was awesome. But Joy Reid, she's big scared of guns. And have you guys heard that Governor JB Pritzker is wanting to take the Illinois legislation, the law? He wants to take the law that's being uh, discussed in courts and being tied up in court right now in Illinois courts where it bans guns, I think, over the magazine, high capacity magazines and magazines over 15 or something like that. There's certain types of weapons he doesn't want on the streets anymore. Governor JB Pritzker, he wants to take this nationwide. I find it interesting. Darren Bailey announces his run for Congress, and then JB Pritzker is saying that he wants to take his gun ban nationwide. The White House even came out on Wednesday of this week and said that they like JB's Illinois law uh, with the gun ban, and they said that they want to take it nationwide. The White House. Could you imagine that? What JB Pritzker's assault weapons ban does, it bans like a lot of things. Like you can't get a magazine clip that's over 15 rounds in the state of Illinois. There's a lot of things that it bans that are just common. I mean, it's a very, very extreme so-called assault weapons ban. He doesn't know what an assault weapon is. And these are semi-automatic. You can't get a fully automatic. That's the thing, folks. Fully automatic weapons are already banned at a federal level. You can't get a fully automatic weapon. If you're watching right now, go ahead, smash the like button. It's Friday. Hey, thanks so much for joining me here on the Morning Buzz. A bit later in the show, Joy Reid. So she stayed inside on the 4th of July on Independence Day because she's afraid of guns. Yeah. And she said that she gets triggered by fireworks, and that's why she stayed inside. Oh. Well, I got to shoot guns and I got to play with fireworks this Independence Day. So Joy Reid, I bet, would be terrified of me. But Joy Reid, she stayed inside this 4th of July. We've got the clip here. And I've just got to debunk her. I have to do it. I have to embarrass her because she's in cuckoo land, folks. She thinks that it's so unsafe that if she were to step outside her door on the 4th of July, she would be shot. Like, that's what this woman believes. She's crazy. Next, Ben& and Jerry's, their parent company. I think it's called Unilever or something like that. It's a parent company. Their stock is tanking. Now, this is a Vermont ice cream maker, and they tweeted a lot of anti-American things on the 4th of July, on Independence Day. They had an anti-American 4th of July message and they tweeted it out. A lot of people were upset. So get this, the parent company for Ben& Jerry's, their stock is plummeting. So the beginning of this week, before the 4th of July, before that tweet went out, they were at $52.28 a share. And that's fallen to about 51, resulting in market cap loss of $2.5 billion. They lost $2.5 billion. Just yet another example of a multinational corporation that has seen losses in market cap after letting its subsidiaries get involved in this culture war. Like, Stop. Like, have you not learned from Bud Light? Stop. Like, it's so obvious. Have you not learned from the movie Sound of Freedom? I've been looking at the numbers. They have half the screens, folks. I saw Sound of Freedom over the 4th of July weekend, and they have half of the screens that the Indiana Jones film had. Half. And they are way surpassing. I mean, it's made over $14 million, this Sound of Freedom movie. People are fed up. People know that child trafficking is wrong and that the elitists are doing nothing about it. And people went to go see this movie. They don't care about the woke Disney. And guess what? Disney sat on that film, Sound of Freedom, for 5 years. They had the rights to it, everything. They had the rights to this film, but they didn't want to put out an anti pedophile film. So ask yourself, why would Disney not want to put out and air a very successful film? I mean, it's making a lot of money. It made more money than Indiana Jones. Why would they shelve that for 5 years? Why would they not want to put out an anti pedophile film? Text in your thoughts 309-451-9299. You can also see me live in the studio. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Rumble. Check us out on Rumble. Before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about the CDC. Very disturbing, folks. We're going to get back to that story here coming up in just a little bit. The CDC is putting out on its website information on how to feed children for biological women who have had their breasts lopped off as part of a gender reassignment surgery, and for biological men taking hormones in order to grow breasts. And I have to question, I mean, I mean, it's hard for me to really wrap my head around this. It's hard for me to believe that the breast milk that naturally occurs in biological women is the exact same as breast milk created by hormone medication in a biological man. I'd love to see the chemistry breakdown of both these milks, whatever the whatever is coming out of the man and the breast milk that comes out of the woman biologically and naturally. I'd love to see the chemistry breakdown there. That's what I was talking about. Uh, but I do need to get to this story. I've got to take a break. Is it Joe Biden? It's not Joe Biden's Coke. Okay, folks, we can rule out because I know Joe Biden is just into sniffing girls and not necessarily into sniffing cocaine, snorting up cocaine. Okay, I think we can rule out that it's not Joe's Coke, but there is this very weird dynamic between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and now there's this report out there, and it gets oddly specific from MSNBC, and it implicates the vice president, Kamala Harris, in this new cocaine gate report. They found the cocaine close to where the vice president parks her car. Wow. We're gonna find out. We're going to find out whose Coke is it. I want to know. I want to know. Where's Hunter? All right, I'll be back on the other side. Hey, if you're watching right now on the live stream, please do smash the like button. our very busy text line, 309-451-9299. I do want to clarify something. Somebody texted in a question. What you're saying is, once again, Disney won either way because they own the rights to both films. No, 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 no. So Disney does not have the rights. Sound of Freedom is what I'm talking about here. $14 million this film produced. In comparison, I think it was to $11 million so far. The Indiana Jones film, which is owned by Disney. They own all of the rights to the Indiana Jones film. Now, they had past tense the rights to the Sound of Freedom film 5 years ago. They had all of the rights, but they chose to shelve it. They did not want to air it. And they shelved it. So eventually, this independent filmmaker, Angel Productions, bought the rights to that film and they aired it here in 2023. So, yeah, Disney had the rights. They sold them back to the independent filmmakers who created the film. Tim Ballard was very instrumental in making that film. It's based off of a true story. Tim Ballard is a guy who went to Colombia and saved a little girl from being trafficked. He originally saved the brother of hers, and the brother had said, "Will you help me find my sister? Will you bring her home?" And without the help from the United States government, what happened was this Underground Railroad operation in which Glenn Beck, actually, who you can hear at Cities 92.9 at 9 o'clock, he had a hand in this, creating this Underground Railroad operation to end child sex trafficking internationally and nationally. So in the film, there's a little boy who gets trafficked over the southern border of the United States and Mexico, and they apprehend the guy who was trafficking the little boy. They found out where the little boy was going to be because they exposed a pedophile online, and they were doing undercover operations, and they figured out how to get this little boy um, to the United States, and they got the little boy to the United States via the Mexico U.S. Mexico border where he's being trafficked, and they apprehended the trafficker, they apprehended the pedophile who was using the little boy's images, and, yeah, so this is an incredible film. If you have not gone and seen it, I highly recommend you go see it this weekend with your family. It's not safe for little kids. I would not take little kids to go see this film. It's, a little graphic, but, yeah, it's appropriate, for, if you've got teens. 10, I would say 10, 11 is fine. 10, 11 is fine, but, um, the film, it it is it is, sobering, and it's going to be a very pivotal film. I do believe that, and in the end, at the end of the when the credits roll, there's a special message by the actor who plays Tim Ballard, Jim Caviezel. So he gets out there and he says, "Hey, this is a special message, and we want this to be like Uncle Tom's Cabin." So Uncle Tom's Cabin was very instrumental in ending slavery, that book, in the 1800s. And he says, "Our goal with this film is to is to get this to really just take off the ending of child trafficking in because the United States, we are the number one consumer of child sex slaves, and child trafficking. Like, we are the number one consumer in child trafficking, which is just it just blows my mind. So go watch the film. It really surpassed Indiana Jones Disney. It just goes to show you that people are conservative, and they're done with the woke nonsense. And we need to stop pandering to the people who think that they have the majority in this country. The silent majority needs to start speaking out and being the loud ones. We need to stop pandering, which brings me to this story coming up in just a bit. Ben and Jerry's, their parent company, they have lost like over $2.5 billion dollars in stock. Their stock is down, the parent company. And why is that? Of course, Ben and Jerry, they came out with an anti-American 4th of July message on Twitter. I've got that story next. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. If you guys could please smash that like button, smash the like button. Let me know you're listening. Like, love, comment, share this out with your normie friends. That's why JB will never win the presidency. Yeah. So JB, I thought he was going to announce actually at Highland Park. I've said that for a couple of years now that I think that he was going to announce his run for presidency at Highland Park, and he was going to run on the basis of, oh, we need less guns in this country. He didn't announce his presidency. However, he did announce that he wants to see a national ban on guns. JB is kind of smart. So JB, he likes to do this thing where he simps and he tries to get the female vote. And females, they as these wine moms, as I like to call them, this wine mafia, wine mom mafia, the suburbs, the white women, right? They will sit there and they will vote for people who take away guns and who are for killing babies. That's what their voting issues are because they vote with emotion, not logic. Um, Once you stop voting with emotion, the country gets better. I'm sorry. So they vote with emotion, and they don't. And JB, and it's just proven that women vote more than men. Um, and he is really honing in on that woman vote, and he thinks that he could get it. I don't know if he's going to announce for presidency. I doubt it. I do think that Joe Biden will not be running for 2024, and that there's going to be some sort of, um, hey, due to health concerns, I am stepping out. I just don't think that they can keep this facade up anymore. But I don't know if they'll go with the governor, Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom has ambition. So does JB. And they want somebody in there who's going to be a shell of a human being that they can mold and manipulate and just kind of throw out there. Speaking of which, Kamala Harris, I guess there's this shocking report out there, and it's like, it's a not so subtle implement or implication that Kamala Harris is the one who brought the cocaine into the White House. So I'm going to be talking about that here coming up in just a little bit. Good morning, it's Friday! And we know it's not Joe Biden's Coke. He's not into sniffing Coke, he's into sniffing little girls. Yes, I have this weird report done by MSNBC. The White House got oddly specific with this cocaine gate report that implicates Vice President Kamala Harris. Also, a little bit later, we will be talking about Elon Musk's his Twitter has reportedly threatened to sue Meta over this new Threads app, and it's claiming that the social media rival has used Twitter's trade secrets to create the app. So we're going to be talking about that. Plus, the CDC on its website, they've posted step-by-step instructions for people who identify as trans and non-binary on how to chest feed infants. Yes, if you are a man, you can take a regimen of hormones, not approved in the United States for lactation, but you can take a regimen of hormones to produce something and to feed your baby with that something that comes out of your nipple. So we'll be talking about that. Plus, Joy Reid. Joy Reid here, she is big scared of guns and fireworks. So she said that she didn't leave her house on the 4th of July because she was afraid of guns and she's triggered by a bunch of fireworks. And Ben and Jerry's, I told you about the parent company here. Their stock is tanking. This is an ice cream maker. I don't buy Ben and Jerry's. I never have. I don't like the principles in which they stand for. I just don't buy from them. I never have, and I don't think their ice cream is very good. uh, but they have this anti-American 4th of July message out there on their Twitter account, and big yikes. Here we have another multinational corporation suffering after going woke. They started out this week with $52.28 per share. That's what their stock was at, and then it fell to about $51 per share, resulting in a market cap loss of $2.5 billion. So they're losing money, folks, from this backlash that happened after they tweeted out this anti-American 4th of July message. I've got all of this and more here on the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299, and you can see me live in the studio, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Rumble. Into it, whose Coke is that? So the White House, they've got this weird cocaine gate is what I'm calling it. And I think we can pretty much rule out that it's not Joe Biden's Coke because I know he's into sniffing girls, not Coke. But we know there's this weird dynamic between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And there has also been a very weird dynamic between Kamala Harris and White House aides and staff members. In fact, back in 2022, she went on record and she said that she, quote, felt disrespected by White House aides when they did not stand up for her when she entered a room. True story. So there has been a long history of battles between not only Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and feuding between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but also Kamala Harris and some White House aides. So then the question arises, did somebody plant this and try to make Kamala Harris look like the culprit here? So Kamala is not a likable person. People in the White House don't like her. Joe Biden does not like her. I don't care what people say. That's just the facts. But the White House had gone out of their way here to drag the vice president into this cocaine gate scandal. And they did this via their media acolyte, MSNBC. And there's this report out there, and it gets oddly specific. And they claimed that the cocaine was found in the situation room near the situation room where the vice president parks her car. Now, the cocaine, was found in the West Wing. Then it wasn't found in the West Wing. Then they found it in the West Wing again. Then it was in the library. Then it was in a cubby near the White House West executive entrance. I guess there was like a little cubby that they found in. So on, so on, so on. There have been conflicting reports regarding all of this. Okay. So here we have landed in the situation room, and I guess the cocaine was found near the situation room, and this is right where Kamala Harris parks her car. Let's take a listen to the report here by the regime media, MSNBC, and how they get oddly specific here in reporting where the cocaine was found. Here we go.
Kelly, the big change is where this was found. And it was found, by my observation, in a much more secure place, limited access place than that West Wing reception area. It's still a frequently trafficked place, but it's down near the Situation Room, right off West Executive, down below. And normal people, average people, just can't get in there, even with the entry from the Northwest Gate.
Well, let me bring you up to date with the reporting that I have. What we have learned is that there are, in fact, 2 West Wing entrances. You know that, I know that, but for the benefit of our audience. And now the investigation has progressed, and so they're saying the West Executive entrance, which, as you noted, is closer to the Situation Room and closer to the Navy mess, where there's the facilities for food and so forth. It is also next to West Executive Drive. That's where, for example, the vice president's vehicle is parked.
Kelly, the big change is where this was found. And it was found
there, folks. She goes, for example, that's where the vice president parks her car. The White House could have said something, like by the Situation Room, but someone went out of their way to say where the vice president parks her car. That's very oddly specific. Now, Joe Biden, he was reached out for comment, and I have a video of him actually running. He sprints. He just runs away when people are asking him questions about the cocaine that was found in the White House. But here is what Kamala Harris said yesterday. Let's take a listen to this. Kamala Harris starts laughing uncontrollably here. And I don't know about y'all, but the laugh just makes more sense after hearing news about where they found the cocaine. I'm just saying. Let's take a listen here. Here we go.
Doug Emhoff, and he's the second gentleman of the United States. The second gentleman of the United States, my husband, Doug Emhoff. And
so the Coke would explain the laugh. Although I don't know if they're throwing Kamala Harris under the bus or what is happening. Far be it to me to speculate. It's odd that the White House would go out of its way to add, quote, right by where Kamala parks her car. Almost as odd for a duo that we're expected to believe is running for re-election together. It seems like they're throwing Kamala Harris under the bus. The streets have been talking for 3 years now about how Joe Biden and Kamala, they don't like each other. Okay. And we all saw it with our very eyes. Jill Biden, the wife of Joe Biden, kissing Kamala Harris's husband on the lips right in front of her. So, of course, that might cause some bad blood, right? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they've never made sense. Kamala actually accused Joe Biden of being racist and believed that Joe Biden was a rapist when it benefited her politically. So that's what she said about Joe on the campaign trail before becoming his vice president. Now, Joe Biden keeps thinking Kamala Harris. I don't think Joe Biden hates Kamala Harris as much as Kamala Harris does not like Joe Biden. Joe Biden, I'm sure Kamala Harris is running around the White House, and I think that he keeps thinking Kamala Harris is just Obama wearing a wig and trying to prank him. So Kamala Harris runs around the White House, and he's like, Brock, oh, that's Kamala. As I said, it's not for me to speculate. It's only for the anonymous sources leaking to the press that Biden is throwing Kamala Harris under the bus to save Hunter for the millionth time to speculate. So I don't know if they're throwing Kamala Harris under the bus. I wouldn't doubt it that they're throwing her under the bus. She's kind of expendable. I don't think that she's really useful. Joy Reid, she stayed indoors on the 4th of July because she's afraid of guns and she gets triggered by fireworks. So during her post-independence broadcast on MSNBC, Joy Reid said that she had not gone out the night before to celebrate, claiming that to do so would have been, quote, insane. She explained that she has a fear of firearms and firearm-related violence. That's why she stayed inside. And she questioned why anyone would want to take part in a mass gathering at a time when the United States was just full of guns and awash with guns. So let's take a listen to Joy Reid here and her attacking guns. Here we go.
In which lethal violence can be shoehorned into a tidy narrative of armed good guys deflecting a multitude of suspicious bad guys. Never mind that those presumed bad guys often turn out to be pool cleaners, ride-sharing customers, furniture delivery people, and sometimes neighbors. Joining me now is Ryan Buss, a former executive in the firearms industry. He's now a senior advisor to the Giffords Gun Violence Prevention Group and author of Gunfight, My Battle Against the Industry That Radicalized America. Ryan, I'm so glad that you were available to talk with us today. I have to say, I did not go out on July 4th and would not. The idea of going to a mass gathering, a parade, or a big fireworks thing outside seems insane to me, to be blunt, in America, because America is awash with guns, and now people don't just have them, they seem to want to shoot people with them and use them for whatever, you know? What do you think has changed in this country, which has always had a lot of guns, in the recent years to make it a shooting gallery?
Well, thanks for having me, Joy. And you know, in a lot of ways, I'm sorry to be here, but I think a lot.
Oh boy. All right. I can't with this woman, and I'm gonna have to. This is gonna sting, Joy. There were 16 mass shootings reported in the United States during the 4th of July long weekend. Look, and magically, I guess all of those guns sprouted legs and started shooting people. No, it's people kill people. Guns don't kill people. Taking place in the 13 states and Washington, D.C. So there were 16 mass shootings reported in the United States over the long weekend. For the vast majority of the country, however, celebrations took place without violence. No violence here in Bloomington, normal for fireworks, right? Now, Joy Reid's home of New York City, they saw 12 people were injured and 2 people were killed as a result of uh, people using guns to commit violence on July 4th. Now, while she painted a picture that the holiday is becoming more dangerous, Mayor Eric Adams, a Democrat, pointed out that the numbers were one of the safest in 19 years. So which is it? Is it the safest? Is it not the safest? Because you've got Democrat politicians whom you love, Joy Reid, coming out and saying that it's the safest in 19 years. So how could you sit there and say that it's the most dangerous holiday if it's one of the safest that he's seen in 19 years? I don't think that the United States is safe, but I don't think it's guns' fault. I don't think it's the guns, right? I mean, on the 4th of July, what I was doing, I was shooting. I was shooting and I was messing around with fireworks. And everybody in my circles were safe. I do want to take a break. We are going to talk about Ben and Jerry's, a multinational corporation, has seen losses in market cap. This is yet another one. Will they learn? Will they take advice from Bud Light? And will they ever learn? So the stock is dropping because they made some anti-American comments regarding Independence Day on the 4th of July. So we've got that story here next on the Morning Buzz. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for joining me here on the Morning Buzz. Yet another multinational corporation has seen losses in market cap after getting involved in this culture war, after going woke. Go woke, you go broke. Unilever, it's the parent company of this Vermont-based Ben and Jerry's ice cream, which sucks, by the way. I don't think it's very good at all. They saw its stock price drop following some comments made by the ice cream giant regarding Independence Day. So the stock has dipped like 1% since the comments drew backlash from patriotic Americans. Now Ben and Jerry's, they tweeted this out. What did they tweet out? Well, they said this quote, "This 4th of July, it's high time we recognize the US exists on stolen indigenous land and commit to returning it." What is the meaning of Independence Day for those whose land is this country stole? Those who were murdered and forced with brutal violence onto reservations, those who were pushed from their holy places and denied their freedom. The tweet stated, calling on people to sign a petition to return Mount Rushmore to a Lakota tribe. The tweet has reached nearly 30 million people. People have seen this tweet 30 million times, and it sparked immediate backlash. You're an ice cream company. Stop virtue signaling. And yes, like people were terrible human beings back in the day. They're still terrible human beings. I mean, come on. I read terrible news stories every single day. What's going on with child trafficking? What's going on with children who identify as transgender, the gender mutilation, mutilating people's genitals. Like that, this is all very disgusting things. Human beings are disgusting, and they always have been. The virtue signaling for me here is just insane. And the New York Post is also reporting that this Unilever, this parent company of Ben and Jerry's, they're also facing backlash this week because they're continuing to sell some ice cream in Russia, ignoring the calls to stop doing business with Putin's nation. So that might also be a contributing factor to them losing money, like $2.5 billion, in fact. So go woke, you go broke. Now, before we take the break, I did want to give you a cute little news story. It's a Friday. I like giving you some good news today. So 12 years ago, his name is Andrew Costello, and he lives in Australia. Now, he visited the country of Cambodia. While in Cambodia, Andrew was shocked and saddened to see all of the poverty there. You go outside of the United States is the best country in the world. You go outside of the United States, it is not like uh, it is. There's a lot of poverty out there. So Andrew was shocked and saddened to see that there was poverty there, but also he was encouraged by a local tourist guide who explained how one cow could change things for families in need. Because one cow is worth the same as a house in Cambodia. So Andrew formulated a plan to use cows to break the poverty cycle. So he worked with a big beef producer to organize a system that delivers a pregnant cow to a village or a family in need. So when a calf is born, the village or family gets to keep the calf. And then the team moves along with the cow and helps somebody else. So he's using cows to end some poverty in Cambodia. So over time, the villages and the families with the cow can continue to increase the numbers of animals, which increases their wealth and ability to survive. Andrew's life has been impacted in a big way by this big idea, and he's been inspired to keep going because he's rewarded when someone in need takes ownership of a newborn calf. Quote, he says this, I know at that moment their life is changed. I'll never get sick of doing this. Never, ever. So that's a good news story for you. He's going around, he's giving people cows to break some sort of poverty cycle. And a cow is worth the same as a house there. So he he's teamed up with this big beef producer to organize a system that delivers pregnant cows to people in need. All right, I do have to take a break, but when we come back on the Morning Buzz, we're going to be going through Scott's Takes. That happens every morning at around 7:35, 7:40. Scott Robbins is a radio legend, and he is on later tonight for the syndicated radio show called Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Scott Robbins joins me next. What do you think, Scott Robbins, for Scott's takes on the Morning Buzz? Do you think it's Joe Biden's coke? I don't think he's into sniffing coke. I think he's more into sniffing children.
Yes. And if they were going to give him something, it would be in a pill form, is my guess.
Crushed up in his yogurt.
Yeah, I mean, I think he gets a little greenies in there, like the little Go Juice before. You've seen it sometimes, right? Where all of a sudden there's all this energy and it comes from nowhere and then it's depleted like 20 minutes later. So, I mean, perhaps there's something going on there. Who knows? The thing about it is this. Think about this for a second. They're so squishy in their answers. Well, we can't be hypothetical about it. We need to see it play out, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? So they're doing all this. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. Aren't there cameras everywhere? And if there aren't, why aren't there? Or was this like, Epstein's guards that moved on to the White House? I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but think about this for a second. If a visitor dropped off a bag of cocaine in the White House on a tour, let's say, and that cocaine was recently found, what's to stop someone from going in there and dropping ricin or dropping some other sort of substance that would poison half of the West Wing? What would stop them? Apparently nothing. If we're to believe that, that's why I can't believe that. I mean, you can't take for instance, Kat, cannot take a purse into a concert that isn't clear. You got to take it back to the car.
Oh yeah. I
mean, these are the rules we live under right now. You're wanded. I mean, you're going to a Doobie Brothers concert and you get wanded and you got to dump all your belongings out on this conveyor belt thing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the world we live in today. How does this happen at the White House? And all of a sudden things just went quiet. Like, well, we can't really speculate. It's an ongoing investigation, blah, blah, blah. What do you mean you can't speculate? What is going on? You should know immediately that you have a suspect that someone did this. And the most transparent administration in the world needs to tell us who it is and why they did that. Unless, of course, they don't want to. But I mean, and then to say, well, speculating on the president's family and blah, blah, blah. Well, you've got a known crackhead that treats the White House as a B&B, does it all the time, is there with some frequency. And we're not supposed to be suspect anything like that. Like that can't possibly be true. Well, of course it can be. Was it some insider in the West Wing? Who was it? How does this happen? And I would say it's a security risk big time. Because if this is allowed to go through, what's to stop anybody from just doing something nefarious? Nothing. So anyway.
Who knows? You know what? After this, I'm thinking that the White House, they'll probably decriminalize cocaine at a federal level.
Yeah, they may do that.
Well,
because
cocaine is actually good for you.
The person wanted to do well. It's just that America kept them down.
Yeah.
And we need to do better. And therefore, we can't just lock these people up. My gosh, they're struggling.
It's all about reform. It's all about reform.
And then, how awful America has been and blah, blah. I'm sure you played the Jill Scott National Anthem, haven't you? Have you played the Jill Scott National Anthem yet?
No, I have not.
All right, Kat, that's coming up on the Cat Show. You got to grab that.
Okay.
Listen, folks, it will absolutely enrage you when you hear it. Enrage you. She did this at some sort of Essence conference or something. I'm not real clear on what it all is, but Kamala apparently was one of the keynotes to this.
I've got it pulled up. If you want,
Kat, first of all, you're not going to believe it. Well,
I haven't heard of this.
Oh my gosh, we did this yesterday on the MVR show. You guys need to hear this, and you don't need to hear it because it's good. You need to hear it because there's a mindset out there like hers. Now, Jill Scott, the artist who warbled this rendition of the national anthem, changed the lyrics, of course, to fit into the wokeness. It is absolutely stunningly offensive. That's all I'll tell you about it. It's coming up on the Cat Show. She'll get to it. I want to get to Casey DeSantis first. Can we do that?
Yes.
I'm promoting your show like crazy today because I'm telling you, folks, if you want your heads to explode, hang in there. Hang in there because it will. I almost guarantee it. The Casey DeSantis has cut an ad for Ron DeSantis. And the thing is this. I think in America, when the mama bear gets poked and you start talking about kids, mama bear gets angry. Mama bear is very effective. And this is the ad she recently put together for her husband, Ron DeSantis. And listen to this, and here we go.
In America, we've witnessed a lot and put up with enough.
You guys gotta go. Wait, let's go.
He is arresting her for being on a public playground. Her kids are here. What are
We've been forced into silence.
Mask on the kid, making it
Into compliance. Told that we must trust the science.
Indoor and outdoor venues should be closed.
We've been told that we must deny truth, back down, and look the other way. But enough is enough. When you come after our kids, we fight back. Because there's nothing we won't do to protect our children. They're not yours.
These are our kids.
Our nation's children are all our children.
We will not allow you to exploit their innocence to advance your agenda.
Okay,
We are no longer.
We can stop it there. Yeah, you understand what she's doing here.
Mhm.
She's a mother, and she's speaking like a mother about what she sees going on in this world that she disagrees with and she feels is wrong. I think most Americans feel the same way. They feel the same way. You may not say it out loud because you're afraid to. You may not say it out loud because all of a sudden you're not in the cool kids club anymore. But a lot of people feel that way. Leave the kids alone. That's all we've ever asked. Adults, do whatever you want to do. Adults want to have some sort of surgery to make themselves the opposite sex. By all means, you got the choice. You got the options. You're paying for it. Fine by me. But
You're gonna die, but that's all right.
but leave the freaking kids alone. That's all anybody's ever said. Leave the kids alone. Stop it. Stop it. They're not your kids. They're our kids. We'll raise our kids. You deal with whatever you got to deal with, but those are our kids. That's what she's saying. That message to me resounds deeply across America because, and there's a lot of reasons for this, but because mothers speaking out like this is a very effective tool because mothers all across America can relate to it. And what is the demographic you need to win? You need mothers that are voting. I mean, that's what you need. So anyway,
Women
I think it's
are the
effective.
largest voting bloc.
Yeah, and I think it's going to work out very nicely.
Mhm.
I really do. Man, good stuff. So at any rate, so we got the cocaine caper going on. We've got the elections going on. There's so much fascinating news out there right now. I mean, there really is. When I look at it, I say, what do we pick? What do we choose? What are we going to talk about today? What matters to you guys, right? And you always think about this stuff. And I think those are a couple of things. And the cocaine thing is really, again, this only goes back to if you can sneak that stuff into the White House undetectable. What's to stop you from doing everything else? That's why the story stinks to high heaven, in my opinion. Also, north of the border, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, did you see what he put on Taylor Swift's message board?
No, I did not.
Well, he's begging her to come to Canada.
Oh, God.
She's skipping Canada entirely on this tour, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fangirling her. So he went out of his way to make sure that she felt, he's really missing her in Canada and they really could use a shot of Taylor Swift and please come to Canada. And I'm thinking, this guy, what a knucklehead this guy is. To me, he's like a Gavin Newsom character, right? Except his father was Fidel Castro. That's the only difference. But when I right? But I look at this guy and I think to myself, he's begging Taylor Swift to come to Canada. This is what he does with his time, right? This is what he's doing. Instead of, I don't know, putting out the wildfires.
Yeah. Oh.
That are raging out of control in Canada yet to this day. I mean, what a knucklehead. And these guys are all shells. They're all just empty suits. They used to call them empty suits. I think he's an empty suit. He's got no substance at all to anything. So again, we'll sit back and wait for that. At least it's cleared up around here, hasn't it? For the most part.
Yeah, I think that we're supposed to be getting some more of it next week. I don't know. The fires are still going on. The Canadian fires are still going on. Justin, what are you doing?
The weird thing is, the question always is, why are they putting out these fires? How is this possible? What's going on?
Yeah.
How can this be happening? How do you just let things just go out of control? And with the environment of the entire planet. I mean, it's not just their problem; it becomes our problem. And I mean, as far as I know, our government hasn't said one word about it to anybody. It's like one of those things that happens. But man, oh man. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Also coming up this morning, I can't promote this enough. It'll be your outrage of the day, and I'm not overselling it. It's Jill Scott singing a version of our national anthem at an Essence concert, a conference that I don't know whether she opened it or what the deal was. But you'll hear it. Kat will play it for you later. I'm here. I am producing Kat's show for you. But I mean,
I can't believe. Well, I haven't heard. I don't even know who Jill Scott is.
Well, she is an R&B artist, right?
That's why.
She's worth. Keep in mind when you hear this and her lyrics, her net worth is like $20 million. She went to an Ivy League school or a private school, college, has had privilege her entire life. And she concocts this nonsense. So anyway, listen up for that one. That's coming. And then Kat hasn't heard it yet either. She's going to hear it for the first time with all of you. This is,
I have not heard it.
I'm going to be tuned in for that one for sure. All right. Well,
I'm going to be outraged. And Queen Order. Kamala Harris.
Oh gosh, we forgot that one. Okay, she'll get to that one too. I knew we forgot something today.
Yes.
Queen Order Kamala Harris with more Kamala capers. That's coming up. I've given up on how to describe what it is she's trying to do. Anyway, we'll get to all that too. That's coming up. Hey, Kat, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later.
You too, Scott Robbins.
See ya.
Scott Robbins is on later tonight, folks. Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins at 8 o'clock. Don't miss him. He's a radio legend. You guys, I'll be back with the Queen Order, Kamala Harris. She's just a bunch of gobbledygook, she says. And then this new national anthem that Jill Scott sings. And here's the title of it. This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slaves. That's next. All right, folks, I am going to experience this with you on the Morning Buzz. My name's Kat Peterson, 7:54 a.m. on a Friday. Now, this is Jill Scott. I don't know who Jill Scott is. Apparently, she's some sort of R&B singer. I've never heard of her before, but she's got this new national anthem out there, and it's titled, "This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slaves." I'm sure I'm going to be just as outraged as you. Let's experience this together.
Ready? I'm 51 now, by the way. Oh, say, can you see by the blood in the streets that this place doesn't smile on you, colored child, whose blood built this land with sweat and their hands. But you'll die in this place, and your memory reigns. Oh, say, does this truth hold
Yeah, that's outrageous. So the lyrics are, "Oh, say, can you see by the blood in the streets, this place doesn't smile on you, colored child, whose blood built this land with sweat in their hands, but will die in this place, and your memory erased. Oh, say, does this truth hold any weight? This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slaves." Uh, what? No one should use the national anthem to express their hatred for America. Too many men and women have sacrificed their lives for this great nation. No one should use the national anthem to express their hatred for America. I'm sorry. This is shameful. On July 5th, I talked about the price of freedom. There's a price that you have to pay for freedom. Jesus Christ, right? He died for our sins, our spiritual freedom, our freedom from sin. And there is a price to pay. Those men, over 7,000 men, fought for this country in the American Revolution and died. And you're going to sit here and you're going to use the national anthem to express your hatred for America. That was the woke rendition of how Black people are oppressed. And I'd like to point out she's got a huge net worth. I mean, she's worth millions, folks. She's got so oppressed, huh? Enraging. Absolutely enraging. How could somebody dare do this? I don't want to be that guy, but if she hates it here so much, she can just always go back. But I think that she likes the electricity and clearly enjoys the caloric surplus we have. Oh gosh, that was great. Wonderful comment. Yes. So she's so oppressed, but I mean, she's got millions of dollars. She's an R&B singer and she gets to, live in all of this freedom, the freedom to go sing that song. Anybody who burns an American flag, anybody who does crap like this, a woke rendition of the national anthem, um, they clearly don't understand the price of freedom and that there are sacrifices that were made by the people in 1776 so that way we could have picnics on the 4th of July. These people um, died. And she's sitting there. She enjoys the caloric intake of this country, the surplus of food in this country. And she, I'm sure, enjoys her um, net worth and all of her money that she makes for making these crappy songs. So, um, wow. So the singer-songwriter Jill Scott, her version of the Star Spangled Banner made headlines after she performed it on Sunday in New Orleans at the New Orleans Essence Festival. So the annual music festival, which takes place on the 4th of July weekend, is one of the most largest African American music events in the United States. So she talks about the black experience here in her song. This is just shameful. No one should use the national anthem to express their hatred for America. Just don't do it. Too many men, too many women have died, sacrificed their lives for this great nation to tolerate this. And it's shameful. Um, I will be back. That enraged me this morning. I've got to cleanse the palate here. We will be back. We're going to be talking a little bit about Threads, which is a new social media platform. It's similar to that of Twitter. In fact, Twitter is suing the company, Threads, Meta. Reportedly have threatened to sue Meta over this new Threads app, and they're claiming that this social media rival Threads used Twitter's trade secrets to create this app. Now, there are some things you got to know about the Twitter killer, as I'm calling it, this Threads app. They are leveraging Instagram to jumpstart the platform by allowing you to follow anyone you follow on Instagram with one press of one button. Yeah. So TK, love this comment. We're going to be back on the radio, and I can't wait to say this comment on the air. People are going to be pissed, but I don't care. Yeah, that really enraged me. I mean, do people not understand the price of freedom? Do people not understand what freedom means? Um, I recommend we all go see Sound of Freedom. Um, Now, you wanna talk about people who aren't free, child trafficking, right? I mean, she is a black woman who gets to go out there and eat all the food she wants. She gets to have this huge net worth and to get out there and to go sing and perform in front of a bunch of people, but she claims that she's oppressed. You wanna talk about oppression? Child trafficking. United States #1 consumer of child slaves. Um so you want to talk about that? Let's talk about that. That is a real ongoing slavery problem here in the United States. And The Sound of Freedom is a film that, I mean, it was $14 million it's made. It was shelved by Disney. Of course, Disney didn't want to put out an anti-human trafficker, anti-pedophile film. So they shelved it. Eventually, the independent filmmakers, they gained the rights back. Angel Productions, they bought the film, and then they released the film in 2023. It's based off a true story. And the opening shot in the film is just amazing. And then the ending shot are the same. It's this little girl, and she's banging on a drum. I'm getting choked up just talking about it. She's banging on a drum, and the sound from the drum echoes, and she starts singing. And that's the sound of freedom, which is the national anthem. And man, guys, I don't know. That enraged me a little bit more than I thought it was going to. You think about the national anthem and what that means. That is the sound of freedom for Americans. And she just took a big big old she just flipped it off. I mean, with this rendition. Um the same people who call Sound of Freedom a religious zealot movie are also the ones who claim America is a slave nation. Literally makes no sense. Yeah. You want to talk about slavery? The slavery of all of these 2 billion, what is it, 2 million children every year or something like that are enslaved in child trafficking. They're going to say that that's a religious zealot movie. Oh, okay. It's actually based off of a true story. The United States government gave Tim Ballard money to up to a point, but then they pulled out because it got to be international crimes, and they pulled all their money out, and they wouldn't let Tim continue to fight human trafficking. So he did it on his own through an underground railroad operation, and he was freeing children. He freed over 60 children in just one sting. Uh, yeah. TK, thanks so much for commenting. Good comments. I'm sorry, guys. I listened to that and it enraged me a little bit more than what I thought. It's probably because I'm thinking about that movie, Sound of Freedom, and the sound of freedom for that little girl was banging on the drum, singing the sound of freedom for us here in the United States. We that is the national anthem, and she just took a big old dump on it. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. We've got so many comments rolling in here on the Facebook live stream, YouTube Live. We're on Rumble. Now, I like what TK says here. He says, I don't want to be that guy, but if she hates it here so much, then why didn't she go back? But I think that she likes the electricity here, and she clearly enjoys the caloric surplus we are offering here. So, yes, Jill Scott, she sang this national anthem. And guys, I didn't think that was going to enrage me as much as it did, but it's titled, This Is Not the Land of the Free, but the Home of the Slaves. And I was talking about the movie Sound of Freedom. And if you haven't seen it yet, I highly suggest you do. It's a very pivotal movie. This is going to transform your life, this film. So the film opens up with a little girl, and she's banging on a drum, and she starts singing a song. And that's how the film opens up. And then she is abducted by a celebrity, and she's told that she's going to be this actress. Her and her brother are abducted when they go to this audition to be like this big time actress or influencer or whatever. And they trick the family into thinking that that's what this was. It was an audition. The dad comes back for the children after the audition, and his kids are gone, and they've been trafficked. The little boy wound up going over the southern border in the sting operation. He was trafficked over the southern border from Mexico to the United States. They found the little boy, and this man, his name is Tim Ballard, he made it his life's mission to find this little boy's sister, who was in, I think it was Colombia, the Colombian jungle. She was trafficked there. She was sold to a man who was making cocaine on this island, and it was a rebel island. And Tim Ballard risked his life to free this little girl. And the film ends, and I'm going to try my best not to get choked up here. The film ends with the little girl back at home on her bed, banging this drum and singing. And that's the sound of freedom. So our sound of freedom as Americans is this national anthem. The national anthem is too important to just change and mock. And that's what Jill Scott was doing here. Jill Scott, she sang this national anthem, and no one should use the national anthem to express their hatred for America. Too many men and women have sacrificed their lives for this great nation, over 7,000 of them in the American Revolution, where we gained our independence, and too many have died and shed blood to tolerate this. This is Jill Scott, everyone. This is deplorable. And if you watch that film, and I like what this listener says, he says some of the people who are calling Sound of Freedom, this film, they're calling it a religious zealot movie. And they're the same ones who claim that America is still a slave nation in that sense. And it literally makes no sense. It makes zero sense here, folks, because You want to talk about slavery? Let's talk about the 2 million children a year who are trafficked into this country. We are the number one consumers of child sex trafficking in the United States. Go watch the film Sound of Freedom. It's made $14 million or something like that, with half of the screens that Disney's their Indiana Jones thing, that film. It's made way more money on half of the screens. People need to go see this movie. I do want to get to this story here on the Morning Buzz. Elon Musk's Twitter has reportedly threatened to sue Meta over this new Threads app, claiming that the social media rival used Twitter's trade secrets to create the app. So this is interesting. Threads is not what you think it is. So read the fine print if you were to download this social media platform. I'm calling it the Twitter killer. So that's their intention here with this Threads app. Next, I do want to talk about the CDC. They have published on their website guidance, step-by-step instructions for people who identify as trans or non-binary, whatever. And they're trying to provide step-by-step instructions on how to chest feed. Yes, I said chest feed, not breastfeed, because I guess breastfeed is wildly offensive. So we're going to be talking about that. Plus, the White House, they get oddly specific here with this new Cocaine Gate report. And this new report actually implicates the vice president, Kamala Harris. Is it Kamala Harris's coke? I don't understand what's going on here. All of this and more on the Morning Buzz. Let's start with Twitter threads, or in threads, Twitter versus threads. So in a letter to the Meta CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, a lawyer for Twitter said this in a letter. So this is what the letter says to Mark Zuckerberg. The company has serious concerns that Meta has engaged in systemic, willful, and unlawful misappropriation of Twitter trade secrets and other intellectual property. Uh-oh. So in the letter, they talk about how Meta has hired a bunch of former Twitter employees. Now, of course, these Twitter employees are disgruntled. Elon Musk came in and he said, "What? What's your position? What'd you do?" And they then he's like, "No. You're fired. You're done because you don't even do anything here at Twitter. You're doing yoga on a mat and you are sipping lattes all day." So he fires all of these people who have these positions that don't really exist. And these employees are peeved off. So he says that they obtained improperly, they obtained Twitter documents and electronic devices and confidential information. So he says that these employees have had access to Twitter's trade secrets and other highly confidential information. This is with every company. If you're an engineer, you get this. If you're working at State Farm, you get this. You cannot go to the competition and give all of the competition secrets away of how you run your company and what kind of products you use. Okay, so there's confidential information with every company. And you sign things, right? Hey, if you're making something, you can't go take the product and or the ideas for the product and go make your own thing at a different company. So Meta released this new thing. It's called Threads, and I guess it's going to be an alternative to Elon Musk's Twitter. Now, Threads is going to leverage off Instagram to jumpstart the platform by allowing you to follow everyone you follow on Instagram with one press of a button. So it's basically the same app. Just remember this: the regime, big tech, left-wing media personalities, they are going to push Threads hard as the alternative to Twitter because the regime is so desperate to try to get social media companies back on their side after Elon Musk had bought Twitter. They need regime-approved platforms because they want to propagandize. That's their goal. They want to control the information in this country, and the only way they can do that is through something like Threads, through things like Facebook, through things like Instagram. Twitter also collects a lot of personal data like Threads, but I think that Threads is more scary because you can't even deactivate your account, or you can deactivate it, but you can't delete it. So you can deactivate your Threads profile at any time, but your Threads profile cannot be deleted without deleting your Instagram account. So they're trying to suck you into Threads. Once you are in Threads, they want you to stay in Threads. So they're hoping that people who have Instagram, people on the right, people on the left, also download Threads. And once you download Threads and create a profile, then you can't get rid of it. You can deactivate your profile, but your profile is still going to reside on the app servers. It's still going to collect data. So if you're Googling, browsing, it takes your browsing history and you deactivated your Threads account, they will still continue to pull your data. So this is disturbing. Just read the fine print, folks. The amount of personal information that Facebook collects off of users is very extreme. But when you read the app privacy policy in the Apple Store, when you download this Threads app, there is a laundry list of personal data that it's going to collect on users. Health and fitness information, financial information, contacts, browsing history, purchases, location. So just be sure to read the fine print. I do want to shift gears. Let's talk about the CDC here. The website now has information out there on how to breastfeed children if you are a biological woman who lopped off your breasts, removed them as part of a gender reassignment surgery, and biological men taking hormones in order to grow breasts. So this is what the CDC is working on, folks. I promised you a couple of months ago that I would not do this, but I have to accurately do the story. I have to tell you about this guy. His name is Naomi. I don't know his real name, but he is out there, and he was on TikTok months ago, and he talked about how he achieved lactation. Um, and he's a man. He has no breasts, right? He's taking a cocktail of hormones, and he managed to squeeze something out of his nipple, and he is currently feeding a child or has been working on feeding a child, and obtaining a child. I don't know, that in and of itself is bizarre and strange, but he said that he's going to become a mother soon in this video and that he has achieved lactation. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
How achievement. Trans women can indeed lactate. You would follow the Newman-Goldfarb protocol, a medical protocol designed to help women induce lactation if they were not like getting pregnant themselves. I'm gonna be a mother. That's in the works, in the process. And part of that process is that I am working to induce lactation to be able to breastfeed our youngest child. Yeah, actually mommy Naomi. I've actually already successfully induced lactation. Like I can actually make milk now, which has been a very interesting and very cool experience. It's like very biologically affirming too, which is something that's like gate kept from trans women, like so difficult, both motherly and
Incredibly disturbing. Notice how in that video he says, "Oh, it's so biologically affirming." So it's all about me, I, and you don't care about the actual child in which you are trying to uh, give nutrients to. Like that's what breastfeeding is. You are giving nutrition to a child, and he fails to mention anything about the child and how the child is taking to the lactation or whatever he is uh, pushing out with this cocktail of hormones. The CDC. I'm going to go through this step by step where what's on this website. It's important, folks, because these are the people who are supposed to be all about Americans' health. They're supposed to be about your health. And here they are on their website promoting something that is not tested, not proven. There's no long-term effects. Like we haven't studied the long-term effects of this. I'm going to be back. We're going to break it down here on the Morning Buzz. Text me at 309-451-9299. Hey, if you're watching the program, go ahead, smash that like button. Smash it. Smash the like button. So we are going to be talking about the CDC website coming up in just a little bit. Plus, I have this story about Joy Reid. Joy Reid stayed inside on the 4th of July because she's afraid of guns and she got triggered by a bunch of fireworks. So we're going to be talking about that. Plus, I've got this weird story about a 7-Eleven of all places, right? Coming up in just a little bit. Okay, folks. Hey, this is your chance to beat the heat this summer. City's 92.9. We're partnering with Knights Action Park to cool you down with some free passes. So enjoy Splash Kingdom. I've actually done some mini golfing out at Knights Action Park. I'm not good at the whole golf thing, but it's really fun to do mini golf, and they have a driving range too, and you can get a pail of balls. So enjoy a day at Splash Kingdom with unlimited miniature golf, unlimited use of the big wheel paratrooper, Fortress of Fun, and your choice of a go-kart ride, a regular pail of balls at the driving range, or 3 batting cage tokens. So this is really exciting. We are giving away free passes right now. If you text in to 309-451-9299, if you text in the word summer, SUMMER right now, then you are going to be in the running to win a pair of passes to Knights Action Park. Passes are valid through August 20th, then the weekend of August 26th through the 27th, and Labor Day weekend, September 2nd through the 4th. This is a great giveaway. Free passes for you and the family. Just text in 309-451-9299 right now. Text in the word summer, SUMMER. And you're going to be in the running to win those free passes to Knights Action Park. Okay. Well, before we took the break, we were talking a little bit about the CDC. Now, what's on the CDC website? Step-by-step instructions on how to chest feed a child if you are a transgender or non-binary person. So the CDC website, there's a section here called Infant and Young Child Feeding Toolkit. And this is under the, you can go look this up on your lunch break if you want to today. Health equity considerations, that's where this is all at. And it's stated there that transgender and non-binary gendered individuals may give birth in breastfeed or feed at the chest. So this is for women who lop off their breasts and for men who are trying to grow breasts using a regimen of hormones. So the agency added that, quote, the gender identity or expression of transgender individuals is different from their sex at birth, noting that gender identity in non-binary gendered individuals does not fit neatly into a man or woman. So yeah, that's how they're defining gender identity and expression on the website. Then they get into the breastfeeding section here on the website. And they start talking about breastfeeding for those who have undergone surgeries. So women who lop off their breasts and men who are trying to get breasts. So the agency wrote on their website, there's a question. It says, can transgender parents who have had breast surgery breastfeed or chest feed infants? The response is yes. On the website, adding an explanation. Quote, some transgender parents who have had breast or top surgery may wish to breastfeed or chest feed. Chest feed is now the term, I guess, and it's used by some transgender and non-binary parents because I guess breastfeeding is too offensive. So they may wish to breastfeed their infants or chest feed their infants. Well, how do they do that, Kat? How does that happen? If you don't have boobs that produce milk, how does this happen? Well, there's something called off-label hormones. We have no idea the long effects on a child if trans parents are using all kinds of off-label hormones. What are off-label hormones? Well, let me tell you. It's a drug used for different purposes than what it's actually approved for. So the report here and that the CDC has released talks about these medications necessary to induce lactation in trans women that have not been approved. These boosting lactation medicines that people are taking, they have not been approved for boosting milk production in the United States. Like, they're not approved. They're not approved by the FDA. There is actually a 2004 statement that they've released, the FDA, warning breastfeeding women to not take what's called domperidone or domperidone, domperidone. Sorry. This is one of the drugs that they're using, and it's unapproved. But there have been reports that women are using this unapproved drug to increase milk production. And now transgender men are taking this, men who have no breasts, they're taking this along with another thing. It's called the Newman-Goldfarb protocol. So what this is a cocktail of drugs that allow people to lactate. Now, what's coming out is anybody's guess. It's very hard for me to believe that natural breast milk that comes from a woman to nurture or to provide nutrients to her child, it's very hard for me to believe that that breast milk that naturally occurs in biological females is the same chemical makeup of what's being created by a biological man on all of these hormone medications. I'd love to see the chemistry breakdown here of that. What world are we living in? You can text in 309-451-9299. I like this text. Breast isn't even purely female word. They don't say men get chest cancer. They also call it breast cancer. So yeah, I agree with you, man. I don't know why breast is offensive to. I mean, we call it a chicken breast. We don't call it a chicken chest. Like in food, right? This is just anatomy. And I guess basic anatomy offends non-binary and transgender individuals, obviously. I had played this video for you of a man who is in the process of feeding a child whatever is coming out of his nipple. I don't know what it is. I have a hard time believing that that it's the same thing that women produce naturally. But it's all about me, 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 me. I. And if you're a parent, you understand that once you have a child, everything changes. It's no longer about you. It's about that baby. It's about that child up until that child is a grown adult. And even still, your life surrounds this child, right? The grandbabies that this child winds up giving you. This is family. Your life becomes your family once you become a parent. These transgender individuals will never understand that. That's why I'm sure we're going to see an increase in abuse with trans parents, people who want to be parents, because it's all about me, 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 me with them. And it only makes sense when you break down the ideology here, because they're constantly consumed with the idea of who am I? And when you're constantly consumed with this idea of who am I? What's my identity? Who am I today? Then you are going to be uh, more or less selfish. You're going to be selfish because you're consumed with the idea of affirming your biology, and you are not thinking about the child once you uh, go through with this decision to try to breastfeed a child using all kinds of cocktails of hormones. Do you want to shift gears here on the Morning Buzz? Actually, I've got this weird news story. I like to pull these for your Friday. It comes from a 7-Eleven of all places, right? A big gulp from 7-Eleven. Sure is refreshing on a summer day. I don't drink pop. I'm not a big pop person. I like those mineral waters. Those are really good. Those are carbonated. But the big gulp from the 7-Eleven, I'm sure a lot of you find them super refreshing on a hot summer day. I used to drink pop and they were good. But a Florida woman got a bigger gulp than she expected. So her name is Tina, and she was at a 7-Eleven in Clearwater where she got into some sort of disagreement with the employee over an overpayment. So she overpaid, I guess, for this big gulp. It's unclear what the issue was or what was said, but the employee was 35 years old. His name is Taz, and he grabbed the big gulp cup of lemonade and threw it on top of Tina's head. So witnesses called the police, and the officers placed Taz, this guy, under arrest after he admitted to striking her with the drink, and he was charged with battery. So, I don't know, on a hot day like today, maybe a lemonade to the face would be more refreshing. I don't know. Especially in Clearwater, Florida. This is where this happened. Uh, Not surprising, this guy has a prior record of assaults. And this guy does have a prior record here of assault, so I don't find that shocking. And folks, I'm just gonna go on the record right now. If you throw lemonade into a woman's face, I think you should serve 7 to 11 years in jail. I think he should. You see what I did there? Okay, I've got to take a break. This is the Morning Buzz. Happy Friday to you, 8:35 a.m. We're going to be back. Let's talk about Kamala Harris. I guess they're throwing her under the bus now. I don't know whose cocaine this is. I know it's not Joe Biden's, because he's more into sniffing kids than coke. But there's this MSNBC report, and it's really oddly specific because they say that they now found in the Situation Room, or near the Situation Room, this cocaine. First it was in the West Wing, then it wasn't in the West Wing, now it's in the near the Situation Room, and then they say that the vice president parks her car there. First of all, I don't think the vice president really has a car, but I'm going to unpack it here on the Morning Buzz next. Yeah, Chad, you make a great point. I have no idea. I would imagine that, you know, they also receiving the hormones that the adult is taking, but also are they getting the necessary fats? Are they getting the necessary sugars from that breast milk? Because actually, breast milk, and this is really kind of interesting. Um, and I don't know if you've heard of this. Let me know, Chad. But so breast milk is not replicated anywhere else except ice cream. So if you poll people, their ice cream is super popular, and lattes, right? They have kind of the same replication of breast milk because it's highly addictive. There's a certain amount of fats, there's a certain amount of sugars in it, and it's kind of. I'm a Christian. I think it's God's way of keeping the baby addicted to what's good for it at the time, right? So there's a certain amount of fats and sugars that the baby needs in that breast milk, and it's a highly addictive substance. That's why the babies need the milk so much, and of course they need the milk because they need to grow. Very pivotal years there, right? When you're a baby, as far as nutrients go. I mean, even in the womb, you have these prenatal vitamins, things like that, things that you have to do in your pregnancy to make sure that your baby is getting all of the proper nutrients early in life. So, ice cream, lattes, these things have certain amount of fats and sugars, and that's why they're so highly addictive. Which I just find interesting that these companies, who created ice cream and who created things like lattes, they figured out, I think, a way to replicate breast milk in a way, um, like sugars and fats and things like that to make it addictive. So that's why people have ice cream all the time, right? And that's why people have like things like lattes all of the time. Anyway, so yes, the hormones also getting into the child. And then on top of that, what about like the fats and the necessary sugars like that the baby needs? That's where my big thing is. It's yes, the hormones a huge deal. I mean, having a baby hopped up on estrogen, I'd imagine that's what a lot of these are. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but I'd imagine you're pumping a baby full of hormones. I mean, is the baby going to undergo puberty early? I mean, these are all questions. It's disturbing, and it's just me, 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 me. I don't care what happens to this child as long as I feel biologically affirmed. So yeah, very sad, bizarre story. And the fact that we have the CDC out there, I understand that the CDC should probably address it. I'm not saying that the CDC shouldn't address it because it is dangerous. But the way they're addressing it is almost as if it's a promotion. So when asked, there's like a Q&A on the website and they ask the question, hey, can you breastfeed and can you breastfeed when you're a trans individual? They say yes. So the fact that we have health leaders, this is the CDC. This is like prevention of diseases. This is like a big deal. This is a bureaucracy here in the United States that we are under the impression that they are, pro health. And they're out there promoting this despite they're not even like they're out there promoting people taking drugs that aren't approved in the United States for this purpose. Another fun weird fact. Mifepristone, misoprostol. I think I've talked about this before. These are the two drugs necessary for a chemical abortion. Neither of these drugs are approved for that purpose by the FDA and in the United States for that purpose. Now, there's one that stops the progression of progesterone, or something like that. That helps your pregnancy. That's the hormone that helps your pregnancy. And then another one expels the fetus or the baby, expels the baby. So, we've actually got Gavin Newsom acting as some sort of drug dealer here, and he's hoarding this one drug because there was a drug that was shut down by a judge and said that you can't administer this in this way. You can't give this to people who are seeking a chemical abortion. It's not safe. And he shut California down by doing or uh, by giving out both of these drugs in concoction. But however, folks, now people are just taking the one that expels the baby from the uterus, and that's extremely dangerous. And he's hoarding this one drug, and they aren't stopping the production of that hormone first. And these two drugs, both not approved for this purpose of expelling babies. What these drugs were originally for is for, if you God forbid, a stillbirth, a miscarriage, and you have to deliver that baby. You would take a misoprostol. I think that's the one that expels. Uh, that's what the purpose is for that. But when you take it without stopping um, the the progesterone, like then I don't even like they are using us as guinea pigs. Bottom line, this is all guinea pig stuff. It's not even approved in the United States via the FDA. Any of these types of drugs, the chemical abortions, the lactation, none of this stuff is approved by the FDA. But yet we have the CDC promoting it on their website, and it's wrong, and they're killing us. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I am here live on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Twitter. I'm everywhere. You can check it out online, the show. You can also text me at 309-451-9299 and be a part of the show. Now, before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about this weird MSNBC report that gets oddly specific with this new cocaine gate report. And it actually implicates, I think, Vice President Kamala Harris. So here we go. I don't think it's Joe Biden's Coke. I think we can rule that out. Help me out, guys. Text in, comment. Whose Coke do you think it is? Like, let's just start taking guesses. I don't think it's Joe's Coke because I know he's really into sniffing kids, not Coke. So I think we can rule out Joe Biden. But there is this new thing where they are starting to throw this out there and maybe throw Kamala Harris under the bus. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they have been at it for quite some time. There is just documentation after documentation proving that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not exactly friendly. Kamala Harris isn't exactly friendly with anybody. In fact, there's an article here from 2022 where she goes on record and she says that she feels disrespected by her White House aides. And that they don't stand up for her when she enters a room, and that's why she feels so disrespected. The ego on this woman, I'm telling you. She thinks she's some sort of profound orator, which we're going to get to in a second. But Kamala Harris is just not a likable person. She's just not. And the White House has gone out of their way here to drag the vice president into this cocaine gate scandal. Whose cocaine is it? The blow was found in the West Wing, then it wasn't found in the West Wing, then it was found in a library, then it was found in a work area, then it was found in this little cubby near the White House's executive entrance, and so on, so on, so on. I mean, it's been everywhere, this bag of coke, allegedly. But now we're being told that this cocaine was found near the Situation Room, right where Vice President Kamala Harris parks her car. Don't listen to me. Listen to MSNBC. Here they are implicating Kamala Harris in this. Here we go.
that West Wing reception area. It's still a frequently trafficked place, but it's down near the Situation Room, right off West Executive, down below. And normal people, average people just can't get in there, even with the entry from the Northwest Gate.
Well, let me bring you up to date with the reporting that I have. What we have learned is that there are, in fact, two West Wing entrances. You know that, I know that, but for the benefit of our audience. And now the investigation has progressed, and so they're saying the West Executive entrance, which, as you noted, is closer to the Situation Room and closer to the Navy mess, where there's the facilities for food and so forth. It is also next to West Executive Drive. That's where, for example, the vice president's vehicle is parked.
Kelly, the big change is where this was found. And it was found.
Oh boy, I don't know. The White House said by the room, but here we have MSNBC, the regime media, coming out and saying very specifically that this is right by where the vice president parked the car. I've got questions. I don't even think that the vice president drives a car. Is it the driver who parks the car there, who drives around the vice president? I don't know. Joe Biden, of course, he was reached out for comment. He was asked these questions. He literally ran away. There's also another video out there of him being asked, "Hey, where'd the cocaine come from?" And he just smiles. That's a reaction I am not surprised he has. So he just runs away from the question. This is Kamala Harris, our queen orator. Uh, let's take a listen to her here on the Morning Buzz. I mean, just everything this woman says she thinks is just so profound. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
And
Mhm.
present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment.
Mm.
And we should always find times to express how we feel about the moment that is a reflection of joy, because
Mhm.
you know, it comes in the morning.
No.
We have to find ways to also express the way we feel about the moment in terms of just having language and a connection to how people are experiencing life. And I think about it in that way too.
The great orator queen. She just thinks that everything she says is so profound. I mean, that the cocaine would it would explain the laugh. What? Like it would explain it. I think they're throwing Kamala Harris under the bus here. I mean, we're all supposed to be uh, believing that they're running for re-election together. I don't think that's going to happen. Uh, but there has been 3 years now of what critics call Joe and Kamala not liking each other very much. There's just proof after proof after proof, like documentation that these people don't like each other. And not to mention, with my own eyes, and I know you saw it too, Jill, Joe Biden's wife, kissing Kamala Harris's husband on the lips right in front of her. Bad blood? Is there bad blood? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just have never really made sense to me. Kamala, during the campaign, the primary, Joe Biden, she accused him of being a racist and a rapist when it benefited her politically. And somehow they're friends. I don't buy it. Joe Biden keeps thinking Kamala Harris, though, however, is not Kamala Harris, but rather Obama wearing a wig trying to prank him in the White House. I'm sure that's what's going on. Kamala's running around the White House, and Joe's like, "Oh, Brock, is that you, Brock?" And nope, it's just Kamala. It's not Obama in a wig, okay, Joe? I will be back here on the Morning Buzz. I don't know. I think they're throwing Kamala under the bus to save Hunter for the millionth time. She kind of seems like a punching bag. She seems like the White House punching bag. I mean, they put her in charge of the border, folks. Like, come on. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. If you're watching right now, please smash the like button. Smash that like button. Let me know what you think about the program in the comments. Let's get to your comments. What's wrong with Kamala Harris? She's definitely part of the Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum. I'd have to look that up. I actually don't know what that is, the Arkham Asylum, Nick, but I'll check it out, Colson. It's because of ignorant gun laws and lack of training, education about firearms. The cities with the most strictest gun laws are the ones with the highest crime, gun rates, high crime, gun rates. Criminals um, are the ones that are armed. Critical thinking skills are sorely needed in today's world. Ideological biases has been used to justify horrible decisions and policies costing lives of an entire generation. Yes. You want to know why they go after the AR-15 so much? I've shot an AR-15 before, and the AR-15 is incredibly accurate, and it's incredibly easy for gun law-abiding citizens to use. It's something that is it's a good thing to learn on. I would say that the AR-15 is probably one of the best guns out there. And they attack it so much because it's so easy to use and because people use it out on the range. Colson, I ask you, and any leftist who has ever been an advocate for banning guns, um, I ask you, have you ever touched one? Have you ever shot one? Have you ever gone to the range and used one safely? I highly recommend you go and try shooting in a safe environment legally, right? And I love this. Governor J.B. Pritzker, he's touting his national gun ban. He wants guns to be banned at a nationwide level. This law, which is already tied up in court, which is so funny. It's like, dude, you can't even get it passed in Illinois, but yet you're out there trying to say that this law should be taken at a federal level. Okay, you're having a hard time getting it past Illinois courts. Try to pass this through the Supreme Court. So anti-Second Amendment. It's not even funny. But because they're banning things like magazines with 16 rounds or something over 15 rounds. That's a lot of guns, folks. And when they say assault weapons, they don't even really know what like that doesn't exist. First of all, assault weapons, I don't know what that means. Do you mean fully automatic weapons? Because fully automatic weapons aren't legal. You can't get a fully automatic weapon. A fully automatic weapon is something that's no. A semi-automatic weapon is you pull the trigger, a bullet comes out. And I don't think these people really even understand what they're talking about. And it's funny because Governor J.B. Pritzker, his family actually has a gun range, I think in Wisconsin, which is hilarious to me because it's like, bro, you're so anti-gun, but yet your family owns a gun range. Let me double check that. Let's see where it's at. I think it's in Wisconsin. Yep. Illinois governor family opens a new gun range in bum. It's not in Illinois because of course, why would you have business in Illinois? I'm looking for where this is at. I think it's in Wisconsin. Yep, Summers. The village of Summers, Wisconsin. It is a shooting facility, and it is owned and operated by the Pritzker family. So, maybe you should be contacting JB Colson and asking him why he's so pro-gun because he clearly is. But he doesn't want you to have guns. He wants his family to benefit from making money off of guns, ranges, things like that. But he doesn't want you to have guns because you're just not responsible enough. Good morning. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that the show is about finished here for this week. It is a Friday, 8:55. Storms later tonight. Storms later tonight and early tomorrow morning. John Weatherby will keep you up to date. We're talking about guns here on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Twitter. I'm there. You can like, subscribe. But we're talking about guns, and I like what Chen here says. He goes, look, these ignorant gun laws, it's all because of a lack of training and education about firearms. Anybody who is anti-gun, I would be curious to know if these people are if they've ever touched a gun, if they've ever shot a gun, if they've ever gone to a range. These people are just ignorant and they're scared. The cities with the most and the strictest gun laws are the ones with the highest crime rates, highest gun crime rates, and the criminals are the ones that are armed. Critical the thinking skills here are sorely needed in today's world. Ideological biases they have been used to justify horrible decisions and policies costing the lives of an entire generation. Thanks, Chad, for tuning in and for interacting. Now, one thing I want to point out, Governor J.B. Pritzker has a gun range. Yes, his family has a gun range. The Illinois governor, who currently has this so-called assault weapons ban, which I don't know what that means. Assault weapon, what does that even mean? Do you mean fully automatic weapons? Because those are already banned at federal level. So I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about semi-automatic weapon? What are you talking about when you say assault weapons? But Pritzker, he's got this all drafted up, this law, and it's all tied up in courts right now, and he wants it to go nationwide. The White House has even come out and said that they want Pritzker's gun ban to go nationwide. But get this, a member of Pritzker's own family has opened a gun range with guns that are currently banned here. It's an extreme ban, and it outlaws all kinds of semi-automatic rifles and allowed citizens to keep their current guns if they register them and pay a fee. So this is an extreme ban. And then we've got Pritzker's family, who owns and operates a gun range facility in Wisconsin. So, leftists listening, please listen up. Is my microphone on? If you are so anti-gun, then you should be talking to Governor Pritzker, who literally owns and operates, his family owns and operates a facility. It's called the Pritzker Military Museum and Library. I don't know. It's with James Pritzker, who is allegedly a transgender person and goes by the name of Jennifer Pritzker. But they've got this gun range, and it's a 22,000 square foot, 2-story facility, and it includes indoor ranges, training opportunities, and it's got 15 shooting lanes. Like, come on, folks. He doesn't want guns for you. He wants guns for him and his family, and he wants to profit off of them. Wake up. All right. You guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate you. Glenn Beck up after me, Dan Bongino. And be sure to be on the lookout for severe weather coverage brought to you by Paul Davis Restoration. They are your severe weather center. There's going to be some storms tonight, so be on the lookout. Bye-bye. Love you.